There is a design for your life, and one of the ways we can see this design is by looking at our lives as a story. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a visual tool that will help you see your story from a new perspective. A story is best understood as tension and resolution. Will the team win the championship? Will the guy get the girl? Will I have enough money to pay my bills? We love stories because we want to know what's going to happen. How is this tension going to resolve? And we see here tension builds in these stories, and the moment that we discover what happens is the moment we see resolution. And when we look at the stories of our lives, there's really two types of tension and resolution in our stories. There is external tension and there is internal tension. The tension I talked about a second ago, will the guy get the girl? Will the team win the championship? That's external tension. And external tension is easy for us to see and understand. There's another type of tension, this internal tension, that is more difficult to understand. It's the tension that's going on inside of us, in our hearts. The questions that we ask, the tension that builds here is something like, am I enough? Am I loved? Do I matter? This external tension part of your life has to do with your purpose. It has to do with your job, your career, your roles, your relationships. These are all outside of you, and we can see both the tension and the resolution very easily. Internal tension is a part of the story that has to do with our peace. For many of us, internal tension, what's going on in our hearts, is a blind spot. We don't really know what's happening there. We know that some days we feel good, other days we feel bad. For some of us, we've even kind of blocked off that area of us, and we don't really know what's happening there, but it's still driving us. The story I like to tell about external tension and internal tension is the story of Michael Phelps. His initial external tension was, can I make the Olympics? And then after he made it to the Olympics, can I win a gold medal? And he eventually got to the point where he was attempting to win more gold medals than anyone else in the Olympics in one single games. And he did. He won 8 of them. The reality is he had resolved all the external tension that he could come up with. But after the 2012 Olympics, Michael Phelps was suicidal and depressed. He had no self-value or self-worth, and he didn't want to swim ever again. Many people think they're searching for their purpose when really what they're looking for is peace. And they believe that if they find or fulfill their purpose, they will finally be at peace. But this isn't how you find peace. The internal tension in our story never gets resolved because we resolve external tension. And we all sort of seem to know this, and yet this seems to be the best way that we can attempt to solve our internal tension. No amount of money, no amount of success, no amount of achievement, no amount of relational closeness is going to solve the internal tension in your story. If you want to live a meaningful story, you need to understand 6 elements of your story. The first element is your external tension. What are the biggest tensions in your life? What do you want most? Once we've seen the external tension, we now need to see the internal tension that comes underneath of it. We have to start to look at what these things mean to us and what our hearts are longing for. Once we see the internal tension, then we need to see that actually underneath the internal tension is a limiting belief or a lie. This limiting belief is actually the source of this internal tension. From that point, we need to see and understand the truth that replaces that lie. Next, we must learn to rebuild our daily thoughts on that truth. As we learn to align our hearts with truth, we see our feelings and actions begin to shift from anxiety, depression, and loneliness to peace. Finally, we can now come back to the question of what our purpose is with greater clarity. These 6 elements make up your story, and when you see them clearly, you can see the design for your life. The key to walking in your purpose is first finding peace in your own story and then coming back to that question of purpose. Simply identifying which of these 6 elements you can see and which you cannot will help you identify where your next step is. I've developed a tool that enables you to get greater visibility into these 6 areas of your life. To learn more about this tool, click the link below.